Okay, welcome to episode 1 of Vibe Coding. I'm working on a project with my brother, who is a proper computer science engineer. I don't know any code, but I do have a vision of where I'm trying to get to. So to be a good helper, I'm going to just smash my brain against this thing to try to figure out what I don't know and develop a product that is valuable. So the basic concept is, and I've already kind of cheated, I have been prompting Grok, troubleshooting OBS of course, and then talking about the app that I want to lay out. So the basic idea is I work in the machine tool industry. Asset leasing departments often need to get estimates of value to plan their moves when people come in looking for money, or if they have some stuff on the books that's maybe a little risky, they want to understand what kind of profile they're getting into. So, but a lot of these guys are not what I'll call super fast. So I'm trying to speed this process up so that they can input some key data and very quickly get a very small estimate of value that can move them along to an appraisal in the future. The appraisal market is something I'm much more familiar with, the tools involved, and what needs to get done, but this is kind of like the pre-work. I'm trying to make a dashboard that they can fill in information and understand where they're at with their equipment, because a lot of these guys are dealing with all kinds of different pieces of equipment. They don't know what they have. So just something that is a quick snap, they get an email describing what they have, where we're at with them, and maybe something going on with the market. It suggested bubble.io. I've got no clue, again, so I'm not sure what's going on. I've been screwing with the bubble.io, and it's got an AI as well that is unable to search the internet, so you have to describe to it kind of what you want. So I'm going to be describing to Grok what I'm looking for, and then I'm gonna iterate that in bubble.io, see what it outputs, see what I like, and then I'm gonna screw with that until I figure out what I don't understand, and then I'm gonna try to either reiterate it again, do another prompt and just learn nothing and just talk to an AI, or I'm going to understand what keywords I need to speak to basically my CTO here, my Chief Technology Officer, so I'm less stupid and I know what I'm asking for. I have family in the tech industry. I have been involved in computers for a long time, so I kind of have vague ideas of what certain words mean, but I have literally zero formal training, and I've never put the work in ever, so this is just kind of like day one of me trying to figure out what I don't know. A little background, I've been kind of working on it. There, in days previous, there was this guy called Coric Design, who is like a logo designer that I like, and I thought that he'd be cool to hire if we got a minimum viable product out, because I really like his Instagram, because I kind of like this hipster medieval style, you know what I mean? It's like craft IPA beer look. I think it's a good look. I think the millennials are beginning to take over the world here, so I think it might be appealing as a design philosophy. And I just like how this guy communicates, so it's like, it's super clear cards, this guy's thoughts are laid out in a way where there's no mistakes, right? So like my favorite one right here is, this is just a little Instagram post about if he's a right fit for you. Okay, so he lays out this little first page. One, you don't even have to read it. Okay, so a lot of guys don't read. They're looking for some numbers and looking to understand things quickly. I love how the check marks, there's only positive things on this page, only negative things on this page, right? Rock and roll. So you make no mistakes, things are segregated well, the layout is fun. I like the font choices. I like this kind of clear communication where when you read in some additional stuff, it looks good. and there's very little room for mistake, right? Like highlighting keywords. You know, we're not probably going to be literally drawing it on, but you know, making it bold and italic, something like that. You know, for critical information. So it's like, boom, your machine is a horizontal machining center. You know, do that, make it more clear, so these guys don't technically have to read. You can have like a brain off experience reading through this and feel smart just by kind of glazing your eyes over and you pick up key information. I think, you know, then basically all of his stuff is just like, you know, it's in like this multi-card. I think that with the attention spans where they're at in modern day, you know, I like the multi-card, discrete little buckets of communication. And here's another one. You know, great. I just think it's fuck. You know, it's oh my god, he's extreme. You know, it's fun, fun. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to lay out. I've already kind of prompted it with like that's the prompt. It's one paragraph. It was not good, so I'm going to say I am going to start by having and I type slow too, so this is extra good. Prompt AI assistant generate can't spell either. And I'm gonna say I like the clear communication style of Clark Design. However, the bubble.io AI is unable to ref any data outside of the prompt. So I need to communicate his style in the prompt language. Oops, I didn't mean to hit enter, so we're just going to let that thing go. But that's a good start. So now I'm going to describe, it's going to probably just go into caloric design and pull out some language, and I'm going to probably just straight up ignore this prompt. And then I'm going to start describing things that I want. So I want a client to be able to log in. I want a spot to enter in machinery information. I want a spot to drop in PDF files and pictures. And I want a client to be able to categorize machines by project. So the idea is you're going to get a sheet. And all these are terrible, right? So like machine tool manufacturers, they're ancient companies. Very few of them are savvy, and you know, and there's it's slow industry, right? You know, like we're not Ford and selling a million billion cars. You're selling if you're selling 1,000 machines a month, you're a big deal, right? Now that's that means you're selling a GM or something, and you're going crazy. And of course, Grok's doing great right now, and he's focusing mostly on the aesthetic, which is good, which is what I accidentally prompted it. So all this data is pretty dispersed and confusing, and a lot of machines they tend to fit into some pretty easy to bucket out categories, but sometimes you get something weird, right? You'll get a machine that is standard, but it's built out with some extra stuff that doesn't make any sense and costs some extra money. So I want them to be able to categorize all their files that they have and describe the machine in a pretty concrete way. So I'm going to say, good job. Okay. I want to hybrid this idea with the structure of the app I want. I'm going to say, I want a client to be able to log into a personal dashboard where they can enter in standard information about the asset to be valued. We'll say machine type, machine make, machine new cost, age, condition, and notes. A drop a area to add relevant files to the machine to be valued, like a PDF of an original invoice or photos of the actual assets. Let's say I also want to be able to store, to bundle machines to a single job if the client has multiple assets or one project as well as individual valuation. Cool. Okay. I want to be able to store the data the client produces to refine my valuation models and that's it. Because again, we're trying to do minimum value per product. I have more ideas, but I think that that's basically the idea. And I spelled a shit ton of stuff wrong. Sorry, Grok. So, I'm using Grok because it's able to look online and stuff. I don't know the differences between the AI. I've just had a really great, finished a YouTube video on how AIs work. I was watching because it's like somebody had bought this thing from NVIDIA, which is like a little box, and it was able to run a local AI, and that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole on how these things actually work. So, don't know if they're the future in the way that everybody hypes them up to be, but they're definitely going to be a very important tool going forward, and I'm going to also learn about these things more so I'm less stupid. Okay, I like that. And then just as a, I'm gonna, an air table. It's recommending an air table. I don't know what that word means. That doesn't seem right. And I'm using Bing because I'm amazing. What is a air table? Is a cloud-based platform that combines the simplicity of a spreadsheet with the power of a relational database. Well, I know what a spreadsheet is, and I assume a relational database is something that the data interacts with each other. But I don't know if I want that, Grok. So I'm just going to ask you though to love the let's make it even more verbose for bubble. I had some luck. So instead of doing versions and stuff like that, I just keep prompting new stuff and then deleting it after I break it. So this is like, see, it keeps on wanting to do. I like the idea to do yellow iron. So my specific specialty is in what I'll call manufacturing equipment. So not like big Tonka truck stuff, like nothing that you're gonna buy when you're 10 in Toys R Us, right? So I don't have a whole lot of experience. We've done some cranes and we've done a ton of these material movers, but excavators and trucks and stuff, it's kind of a different sector. Not one I'm unfamiliar with. We were capable of doing it, but my specialty is in actual machines that sit on a floor like factory stuff. And it keeps on, every time I do this stuff, it keeps on leaning them together. I know they're technically linked up in the financial world, but I find them to be very different asset classes. And I don't know if this is a sign from God that we should be also doing trucks and trailers, which I think I'm just gonna, Jesus take the wheel here and just say, sure, we'll just learn the expertise. And I know enough people who do that every day where if I got a weird question, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I just have to go, interesting question. I'll get back to you that in one day. Like it? Okay, fuck it. Let's see what Bubble does. I'm going to say whip up. I'm using the cheapo free version because again, I have not talked to my boy yet, to my CTO, about if this is a good idea. I talked on the phone with him. He laughed at me because I wasn't using GitHub or anything. I told him I'm coding in the web browser and that every time I make a mistake, I just delete the whole thing and then start again. So, but we're gonna learn this. Ooh, they got 2,500 word limit. Okay, so I forgot. Let's go. That might explain why I'm getting some of my prompts cut. Okay, I didn't read that. Word limit on. Oh. Can you make this prompt fit into the character limit? And you know what? I'm barely even reading right now. This is how extreme the vibe code is going. But again, I've done this a couple times now, and I was reading more carefully when we were going along. I'm spinning up 10 GPUs in a data center in California somewhere, just to fuck with this. I think it's going off on a tangent here. Oh, it's thinking this prompt. So I said this prompt. That's a silly mistake. Okay. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. And so like I've worked basically like corporate, being the big head in the office where like I'm like, oh, I could simplify that for you, sir. So it's like I feel kind of bad using AI because I'm like, this is all jobs. Like every time I prompt an AI, I'm like, that would be literally my job. Like I would have to go through and be like, hey, okay, you know what, Brian, I want this, 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 and this, and I want you to put that in a paper that makes sense. And I'd have to like figure that shit out. So it's like So nice. It's going to make me dumb. I can tell it's going to make me dumb. But I will, hopefully they invent AI Socrates by that time and I can start reabsorbing my brain matter. But it's so nice because it's something that I would just have to buckle in, put my seat buckle on and like make a Word document and just start tearing through it. But it does it in like 30 seconds. It's just sick. Don't know what SaaS or PaaS is. Sounds like something bad. Okay, is it software as a service platform or a platform as a service? Makes sense. That's true. Or as a service approach. And that's what I'm trying to provide. I'm trying to provide a faster service because these kinds of opinions and values do happen. The idea that I'm kind of going for is all asset classes need understanding of value. Machine tools are just such a small asset class, so and the market is super spotty. So like they're so different. Even machines that are identical are wildly different due to use case, and then manufacturers change stuff up sometimes within the same manufacturing year. So it's very complicated, super slow. But the idea is like what Zillow does for real estate comps, or Kelley Blue Book does for cars. I'm trying to make it as convenient to use. You know, if you were using these services, saying if you're using Kelley Blue Book in 2013 or you're using Zillow now, I want it to be like that. That interesting. So, in my experience, it's not 5 to 7 minutes, but we'll see. And you're gonna see what pops up. It pops up with like a pretty good looking thing. And then I'm just gonna break it. I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna learn what I can learn. Cute words though, guys. SaaS and PaaS, software as a service or platform as a service. I would say maybe this is platform, but this is just minimum. You know, there's a bunch of different ways to take it, like for scaling. So I think there's tons of appraisers. I think using this, and then like there's guys who do machine tools that get so narrow, you know, because some of this stuff is so complicated. There's only 3 or 4 guys that really know each little niche. So there's tons of different kinds of machinery appraisers. So I don't know if I want to build something that an appraiser can use to generate reports quicker. So like if you are a machinery appraiser, or if I just want to try to like generalize this and make this as a user, you're a person who owns a piece of equipment. One of the ways that I was thinking about this is that if you're a business owner who owns machinery, you can input, you know, we could offer as a service an inspection. We come and inspect your facility, input all the little things so that you have like a live view of what's in your factory. I think the quickest way that I'm going to be able to get this to go, though, is that I've been doing this for a couple of years. I think I can sell access to something that will output reports. Just you know, they input data. Next day, they get an email that says, "Here's your machine. Here's what's going on. Here's a little description, so you're smart in your meeting, so you sound like you know what you're talking about." I think that's going to get us to maybe $20 a month. You know, I could maybe charge, you know, I don't know. You know, pricing's a question, but I don't really care because I feel like there is a little niche here that I'm going to be able to knock a product into, and then as I become less stupid, understand what's going on. And jump like that. And then really like in the machine tool business, you know, I don't know if this was World War II or what caused this, but everybody's secret, right? Nobody likes to share data, and everybody plays this like chicken game about not letting you know about anything, so you have to really pull nails to get information about some companies, even general spec of what their shit can do. You know, because it's a very regulated environment, blah, blah, blah. But my general philosophy is I think the more open something is, the faster it is, that's the more valuable. I don't think I'm going to make money on secrets, right? I think I'm going to make money by being very open. I like to play open cards with deals. When we're selling equipment, I don't like to screw around. I really hate sales. I like to just kind of lay out exactly how things are going to go. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. And I've basically made every mistake possible on every kind of machine you could imagine. Presses, mills, lathes, whatever. And I don't got anything. I don't want you to make that mistake. So even if you're not going to run with me, I don't want you to crash a machine and screw yourself or hurt somebody. So, and I've been in more plants than you could believe. And once you start to, after your 100th plant you've been in, you start to be able to discriminate and see how things maybe are more efficient in one place or another. And just in the United States, that's huge. But, recently I've got access to some of the Asian market. I went to Japan and got to see some stuff, seeing the difference between what cheap labor does, cheap and hardworking labor versus having to kind of like drill out the bottom of the labor market here. Man, the stuff you learn. I don't want to hide that. I want to spread the good word. I think good business is good for everybody. And we're just letting it generate. I don't know how long this has been going now. Oh, only 26 minutes. Okay, nice. That's a car ride. I'm going to try to keep it under an hour. I think I'm going to do an hour. And then go to my conclusions on what I'm trying to learn. All right. Okay, already great. This is already, I like that it chose blue. I forgot to, because we're just stealing Michigan's colors because we like Michigan. And they've just got so many great, they've got an entire degree field. There's all these young ladies working on design, and you can go to like the Michigan website and they'll describe how their branding works and like how to use the colors properly. So we just kind of want to steal the blue. So it's already kind of blue. Okay. Your machines. Your job. I like that. And you see it does the excavator again. I know it was in the prompt, but not what I'm meaning, bud. But okay, so of course there's 0 issues detected. So I asked earlier what this thing is programming in, and it's programming in, I guess, Java, HTTPS, and CSS. I don't know how that works. My brother uses real languages for real software. I'm just trying to work. And then my lovely girlfriend is a programmer as well, and does back end, which I understand means like all the working software, that's stuff that actually does stuff. And then the front end is user interface. So I got 2 back-end programmers and nobody who does any front end. So this is what I'm hoping to do, is that if I can smash my head against this front end stuff and get it to output data in a way that my 2 genius back-end developers can use, that I'm going to actually be helpful rather than a pain in the ass and just their sales and general direction guy. I guess the term is called business administrator, which I think is really cute. And now that I've learned what a BA does, I mean, programmers really don't do anything. They just, the BA does all the work and lays out exactly what they got to do, and they just spend all day working on a bit of code. How hard can that be? So the real BAs out there, I know you're the real one. Oh, yeah. Okay. So let's color. Okay, so, like I've had a long history of scraping stuff off of other people's websites, hitting F12 and getting a picture or looking at stuff. So I recognize the layout of this stuff immediately as kind of like a basic website. So like if I go to Instagram, and I go, so here's my logic. Oops. And I open DevTools. You know, I do this kind of stuff. So I can go like this and say, you know, class span. There we go. And we'll go like that. And if I go to cool guy Bryan. Oh yeah. I can do stuff like that. You know, I've been on the internet a long time. So I kind of get like what a class is, you know, so my understanding of how this gets structured is that a website is kind of structured in a bunch of blocks. You know, the page is like a whiteboard, and there's a certain number of pixels up and down, and then you can scroll, and that all the elements are put into a little block that has a behavior and stuff in it. So pictures, text, whatever. That's kind of how I imagine what I'm looking at here is. I don't understand this little bubble that keeps popping up, or bubble.io or her, but so you see like this row gap px. I'm pretty sure that means pixel. You know, so this looks to me to mean something unique to bubble.io. I don't think this is a normal thing. I think this is like if you're using Wix, you know. So I'm gonna try to figure out like just the real. So you see these drop downs. For sure, this is something built into the bubble.io, which I'm not opposed to. I do not mind paying somebody to make sure that their shit's good. And now, what I don't know is if it's just generated this one page, or if it's actually generated like links to other pages. No, I think it's just this one page. It's a cute idea. See, I don't think notifications are necessary. Cute layout though. Okay. Work. Okay. No problem. We'll reload that site. This kind of feels like programming for babies. Like I've seen those, you know, show up in ads where it's like 2 line to this, subtract 2, you know, and it makes an output 0 or something. That's what I believe a workflow to be here. And it's hiding elements. So just like I talked about earlier, it's creating elements. I screwed with this a little bit. Well, I've done basically no reading. I've just been kind of just playing. So I think reading will be good. This is an old version. This one, for whatever reason, I don't know if this is because it's my first one or. Yeah. Shit, I don't even remember my password right now. That's just basically what I've been doing. Okay. All right, level up your data skills. That seems right. No, I've done this a bunch of times and I still haven't done this. Okay. Data types, user post type. So I want to be able to take what I still don't understand, and this may be a problem in itself. I gotta kind of like read Bubble. Is Bubble even capable of having unique users? Like if I sell users? So maybe this was useless. We'll do that. We'll do that. Boot camps. Gotta go to boot camp. Like I'm in the military. I do want to know who came up with that term because I really hate it. I would prefer crash course. I know it's like it makes coding sound too serious. You're gonna do 50 reps. So, all right. Live website, custom domain, 2-factor authentication, 10 custom branches. You know, I don't understand if it's growing quickly. Builds per month. See, this is what I'm concerned about. Like, is this for like internal stuff? And yeah, I probably should have cleared this before I started this thing, but. No, see, sign up or sign in, log in. Yeah, okay, it's got logins. Fuck it. Is it secure? Don't know. But I'm sure if we can, and this is going to be called something like vibe coding the minimum viable product. But man, it's really just an assault. This stuff is just ugly AF. All right. Let's go back to our boy. Can apps be built for users? I think the answer is yes. Just plug. 3 bubble docs. Video list. Okay, how to build. Great. Okay. And, you know, in my past lives, I've built like Shopify stores. You know, I've been on the internet long enough and in entrepreneurial spaces enough, and I'm enough of an egghead to have screwed around on template builders. So let's just crack into it. So I would like to output some data. I want to see what happens. I have gotten it into a text file. I've kind of got it almost to like an email, But mostly it just kind of shits stuff out to the ether. And that's not what I want. So it's got a good layout. It's got an excavator in there. So we're going to change that to a Haas. The machine section is not like verbose enough. It's a little bit too weak, you know. And it calls it like text ID. Can't display somewhere. Can I preview this? Cute. Why did it switch it and how did it switch it? Okay. Now that's a nice screen. So this is what I want. So I'm going to say Haas BF2. We got a Haas BF2 as an example. Get some work emails at the same time. I'm going to say it's probably going to have to be a drop down. I might just eliminate that because that's a little confusing. Haas BF2. Go on 150. This is a test machine. That's a nice bubble. I like it. Maybe shift it over, put a picture in, whatever. Oh, good. We got an appraisal, so that's just work stuff. I'll deal with that in just a minute. Okay. It's really damn close to like kind of the idea. It's a little bit spread out, you know. I kind of want to like condense these into a single dashboard. You know, it's not very readable as is, but it's basically got the idea. Okay. That's looking right. Okay. Okay. So it's got a bunch of, you know, if you think about it like a band, you know, so it hides it until I hit add new machine. Seems appropriate. I kind of think I don't want that. I think I want that on the top. And can I do that? Put it above the main group. Cool. All right. And I want to see what it's got in it. So group O is the output thing. And it's just got a whole shit ton of groups. So I don't know if this is just, it's like the header. Yeah, so group P is the header. add. It's just a plain text, and that's a button to make it go away. Okay, so group R. So it's got each one of these is its own band, which probably, I don't know if that's important for the layout, but I'm just going to screw with it. And then each side is its own, so it's like a input add machine. I don't like that input, so I'm going to go to the next one. So this one is machine make. I'm going to change this to so this is just the website builder stuff. I'm not really learning anything here. Looks good. So, text input. Probably going to be one of these buttons. It's going to be like this. So what I think happens is you fill information into these, and then when you hit the button, it initiates a workflow. Nailed it. Okay. So, yep, and it just reads. It just straight up reads the values that's put in there. And it's just adding the values in as is. User current user element kit. Okay, data types. This is what I wanted. Appraisal, job machine, machine file notification. I think the notification is something that it cans in. So this is my data type. This is what I really want to fuck with. Creator, date modified, date created, slug, job machine. I'm going to have to add some data into here. I say create a new field, field type. Okay. There's my VF2. Nice. Okay, so this is some stuff. So a JSON file. I don't know what that is, but it's something. The CSV is a comma separated value. So now I know I'm in the right range. So what would be cool is I have some of these invoices. Being able to drop an invoice in, pull off general data. Because I actually think that this is too small. I think I got to add more conditions to the file. So this is what I was kind of bouncing off of here. There we go, file manager. Did you just make a logo? That's cute. Thank you, GPU, whatever I just spun up there. But this is it. So I got the data types. I now know, so this is good. So this is where I'm going to sit for a little while. I'm going to read up on, I think, basically just a massive database of comma separated values is fine. I now understand when I hit a form what happens. So I've got a form that I like. I don't know how to, let's try that out right now. That was when I logged out. Okay. Yeah, so I doubt this is going to be the biggest issue because we're going to have real financial institutions as a client. Login security, I got no fucking clue. I know guys that do know, so it's not my job, but big old comma separated value sheets, and I've got a bunch of machines already appraised, so I think I can I'm going to start looking at those documents, seeing what kind of information I'd like to have. I think one of the biggest whiffs right now is definitely location. I think a location would be nice to add on. So for my next episode, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to my AI, and I want to add into the form a little button that says, like, do you know where the machine is? Click it, and it expands out and it says address line 1, 2, you know, that kind of shit. But I think machine location is going to be important. That's where I'm at. And then I'd like to see if I can somehow get it to where we could input pictures, and I want to be able to edit machines after the fact. And then where it outputs, like in the dashboard, I don't know if I want to keep the dashboards purely like an emailed PDF, and then there's just a button that says like request information on this machine. But interesting. I don't think I want them to have the information of the valuation of the machine on the dashboard. I think that I want to be just checking each one of those because, like I said, this is not so standard. Maybe I can give them like a general rule of thumb thing that's like, hey, while you wait, here's what based on the information you answered, it's going to be checked by our appraisal team. Don't know. So that's it. That's under an hour. I'm going to do this again and see where it gets me.